There's a Nigerian based in Cape Town. He owns 800 RDP houses. Our people are paying rent to him. Now, you must tell me, what type of government do we have? There's others here. When I campaign, when you go to Terfontein, our people are renting houses from Nigerians. What type of government do we have?
That video was taken from 2024. The gentleman speaking is the current deputy president of a South African political party known as the Patriotic Alliance. Fast forward to April 2026, a viral video posted by a South African-based Nigerian real estate owner triggered fresh wave of public outrage and resurfaced long-standing xenophobia. In the video, the individual, who appears to be a social media influencer, was displaying a number of RDP houses he claims to own in the suburbs of Johannesburg. For those who don't know, RDP houses, that is Reconstruction and Development Program houses, are subsidized housing scheme by the government designed for low-income earners in South Africa. But sometimes individuals can invest and run it. Whether or not this influencer actually owned those properties was beside the point. It was just enough to give South Africans a reason to misdirect their grievances. A week before that episode, another incident made headlines. A Nigerian man was reported to have crowned himself a traditional ruler in the Eastern Cape province. Outrage followed, and the situation was only partially diffused by a formal apology from the Nigerian High Commission in South Africa. These are recent examples of a much older problem, entrenched xenophobia, directed not only at Nigerians, but at Africans across the continent by South Africans. It is a hostility that intensified significantly in the mid-2000s and has never fully gone away. Admittedly, it is incumbent on any foreign national in a sovereign country to conduct themselves with grace and in accordance with the laws of the land. That said, it is worth stating clearly that xenophobia in South Africa is not organic. The seed of discord between South Africa and their African visitors was deliberately sown by the same forces that are actively working against African unity. It is the legacy of apartheid. The reason a black South African finds himself unemployed or trapped at the lower end of the income bracket is not the presence of roughly 50,000 Nigerians in the country, a figure that represents less than 0.001% of the total population. The reason so many South Africans are struggling is that the descendants of apartheid's architects still control the country's wealth in widely disproportionate measure. A recent study by Oxford professor Dr. Rebecca Simpson on income inequality in South Africa reveals key dynamics of the issue. According to her research, approximately half of all white adults in South Africa can hold wealth of at least 250,000 rands. That's roughly $14,000. The figure for black adults who can say the same is only 3%. White South Africans represent roughly 9% of the population, yet control over 70% of its wealth. This is not a coincidence, it is structural. The system of settler colonialism that preceded present-day South Africa left a disproportionate share of land, property, and financial wealth in the hand of the descendants of colonial rulers. That concentration of wealth did not dissolve with the end of apartheid. It was simply left in place. And what better way to prevent black South Africans from directing their anger at the actual source of their suffering than to socialize them into believing that the Nigerian or Kenyan visitor living among them, who likely does not have up to 10,000 rands to their name, is the problem. South Africa's most vocal anti-immigration group, Operation Dudula, has not disclosed its funding sources. However, many have linked it to what is known as the Stellenbosch Mafia, a group of South Africa's wealthiest individuals, all male, all Afrikaners. The group's true allegiance are not hard to read. Operation Dudula has consistently directed its energy at African visitors while showing virtually no interest in the glaring wealth inequalities between black and white South Africans. That selective outrage tells you everything about who benefits from keeping black South Africans focused on the wrong enemy. You can also tell by how the colonial media routinely amplifies these and other openly xenophobic organizations. The BBC even dedicated a documentary to them in 2023, extending their reach and lending them some form of legitimacy. The purpose of this report is not to amplify what divides us as Africans, but to bring to light the fact that we share a common enemy, the imperialist settler colonizers, whose methods are deeply rooted in racism and capitalist exploitation. The pattern is visible even within their own society. Anti-immigration sentiment is currently at an all-time high across Europe and North America. When, for instance, an American president tanks the domestic economy through needless aggression abroad, aggression that ultimately serves the capital-owning class, the rest of the population is directed to blame immigrants who do not look like them. Meanwhile, the capitalist class continues to sit on a collective wealth that would otherwise be distributed more equitably across societies. We as Africans, we must take pattern recognition seriously. This is not new to us. It is the same playbook deployed across different geographies and different eras. We cannot continue to allow those who despise us to divide us for their own benefit. For the spearhead, Mike Chukwu.